How's it going, guys? Today, I'm going to be featuring the Daisen, the new premium tier 8 Japanese battleship. Now that I've had a couple of days to play the Daisen, not only on stream, I also played it off stream, which is where this game's from. Um, I decided to go back to a secondary build, mainly because the main gun build, which we did try on stream and I did continue off stream, doesn't really offer anything unique compared to other battleships at the tier in terms of accuracy builds. And honestly, there's other battleships that just have much better guns than the Daisen and is really just more effective. So I decided to do the one thing that Daisen has that's unique, which is Daisen is the only Japanese battleship that can build 4 secondaries and also be effective with it. All the other Japanese battleships just simply don't have the range. Iwami has a little more range than normal, but the problem with Iwami is the fact that it's 100mm secondary guns that don't get improved HE pen like Akizuki or Kita's 100mm guns, meaning it's more like Flandre where your secondaries don't pen anything and you're only relying on fires. And also Iwami's, I don't even know what caliber they are, but they had 3 triple turrets at the rear and they just had terrible firing angles. I'm not sure why they're there, but the secondary build on Iwami is just not that effective. Daisen, on the other hand, has 127mm secondaries, which means they do pen destroyers and battleship superstructures, and it also has 140mm casemate secondary guns, which is still pretty good. And I guess those that used to build Amagi or Nagato with secondaries will feel very comfortable with the Daisen. Actually, even more so, especially because Daisen can actually get 11.3 km secondaries, which is what I have in this match. I am using Haruna as my commander with Hipper and Enrique Fernandez as inspirations. I could have gone with Bismarck, but I decided not to and I went with Fernandez, mainly because, well, one of the problems at higher tiers is that when you use brawler commanders, cruisers can typically outrange you simply by using beyond range, and being farmed and not being able to retaliate kinda sucks, so at least we can shoot back. But then again, having a secondary build, what are the actual chances of landing any shells at range? Kinda closer to 0, but at least we can probably scare them away with the splashes, and then maybe they kite out of range and, well, they kinda leave you alone until they turn around, and then maybe it gives you a chance to disengage or something. But either way, having the range I think is a little more important than, I think right now I have like 6% dispersion and like 5% reload. And also having the range just means your secondaries will shoot sooner and then makes it easier on your engine boost, which I generally use to push into secondary range a little easier. But now we kind of find ourselves in a bit of a situation here. We got a Zhao in front of us torping, gearing reversed out of the cap. And there's also a Duncan. Everything has torps. We do get rid of the gearing because, well, we need to get rid of DDs quickly. I am very worried about the Duncan's torps because I've just damage conned, and at the time I kind of forgot that Duncan has torps. And I do know they reload pretty quick. I don't know if he launched them at all yet. He's not shooting his guns, and I'm just waiting for the torp to show up. We do land, I also forgot, Daisen also has torps, 8 on each side and they're 10 km range. But apparently 4 torps isn't enough to dev strike a Duncan, but either way, we dev strike the Zhao, and then we use our rear guns on the Duncan to finish him off. Still scratching my head where the Duncan's torps were, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a pretty exciting brawl. And we kind of just stomped our flank after our Shima 8 Zhao torps, and our Alaska kind of lost all his HP and had to hide for most of it. But yeah, Daisen as a secondary ship, not gonna lie, it is pretty fun, but is it worth the 25,000 steel? I would say no. If I really wanted a secondary battleship, or well, secondary ship at tier 8, I'd probably go with the Germans, especially Schroeder. Schroeder's such a meme, especially if you have Bismarck as your commander. But anyway, 25,000 steel. I mean, comparing it to what else exists in the Forge, Missouri, and Salem, I think those two are still much more worth. especially being at tier 8. Well, Salem's at tier 8, but Salem is still pretty cracked even though they nerfed the bejesus out of it. Daisen, there's just so many other battleships at tier 8 that are, in my opinion, better. Republic and Musashi. And I mean, a lot of the other battleships, when you build for accuracy, Minnesota, even Heisen, can just sort of do what Daisen can. And main gun build just doesn't offer anything special, which you kind of would have wished it did, but it's kind of not really doing anything. So that's why I also went back to a secondary build, just so I can kind of meme and have fun with a secondary build, pushing in aggressively in a battleship and trying to brawl whenever I can. Now, one thing I do find kind of weird is that I'm not exactly super excited about a Japanese secondary battleship, which is very weird because I very much enjoy my secondary builds. And honestly, I've wanted a secondary Japanese battleship for the longest time. I've always wanted Key to be that secondary battleship at tier 7, kind of being like a, I guess, Japanese tier pits. Having the secondary range on those 100mm guns. Obviously, they don't pen anything, but then maybe if they just gave it Akizuki pen and called it a day and some range, then Key would be what I was looking for. I mean, we kind of have that in Daisen, but I'm not sure. It just doesn't feel as, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel as good. Maybe it's because it's 25,000 steel, a very steep price for a secondary ship, especially having other tier 8s that do secondary things much better, like Ruprecht, and then also having better main guns if you wanted to do accuracy build like Musashi or Republic. Maybe that's what it is. And then having something like Salem that's ridiculous, and then Missouri being at tier 7, and then also having that buff credit earning that it does now. I don't know, maybe it's a tier 8 thing, because I honestly don't play tier 8 that much. I think that might be what it is. Maybe I'm not excited for it because I know I'm not going to play it even after I get it at some point in the future, just because it's at tier 8. Yeah, I don't know. I think tier 8 could use maybe economy rework, just so you can actually earn credits. Especially these days. I know they wanted to keep the low tiers populated, but I think there's enough new players these days that it honestly wouldn't affect much. And then honestly, legendary tier and tier 8 matches, queue takes longer, especially with having such a steep service cost and then not earning as much credits. I think they could technically rework their economy and just make it normal so you don't always lose credits at legendary tier, especially if you don't have premium time. Playing on my free to play, that is something I noticed. But yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just tier 8 and the economy at tier 8 not being the best, especially some things getting nerfed and then other things being buffed, trying to like normalize the credit earning this update. I don't know. Kind of weird. But yeah, just not that excited. Now, I guess I can kind of end on a high note for Daisen. I will say one thing, it is much better than Carl. Carl is a struggle. That thing lost so much of its gimmicks on PC that it's very mid. For those of you that don't know, on PC, Carl can get its detection down to 10.6, and then its torps are 13.5 km. But here, Carl's detection is like closer to 14, and then torps are only 10. So one of the gimmicks was stealth torping with basically Holland torps, or when you push into about your detection, you can still torp things while you sort of fight them. But here, more often than not, things are just going to run, which they usually do, bound reversing or just kiting, and then you're going to struggle to deal any sort of damage because not only can you not torp, secondaries are very short range, and then your guns, well, you can really only HE spam. You don't overmatch, which is why I prefer Ruprecht over Carl. So Carl, I don't know, to me just feels really mid. Kind of wish it was a little better. Maybe its detection at least, so we could still get like a 10 km conceal if we built for it, and then kind of play around having torp range that goes that far. But yeah, I don't know if I'll ever have a replay on that thing. Maybe one at some point. Still need to figure it out, but honestly, I don't really have high hopes for that thing. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and share it with your friends, or leave a comment down below on other ships you want to see in the future. But till next time, aloha.